Sure, we got a good chance right now. We're actually waiting on a ship move to catch up to us. So, my name is Chris Ritter. I'm currently piloting. To my left, we have Dave Casagrande. He's nav. Don, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Don Liberatore. I'm co-pilot today. And to my right, we have...
And down in the corner, Bob Knott, GFOE. I'm on video.
And in the back, you got Roll O'Brien doing clipping.
And we're all with the Global Foundation for Ocean Exploration.
Great, thank you very much.
And your hosts today are myself, Chris Ma, from the Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History.
And I'm Chris Kelly. I'm from the University of Hawaii School of Ocean and Earth Science Technology. And to my left is...
Nicola Rodriguez from UH Hilo.
So that's your control room team right at the moment. And of course, we have a lot more people involved in this dive or in other labs. And of course, the whole ship's crew of the Okeanos Explorer. If you just joined us, we are on Sally Seamount. Seamount that was mapped just earlier this year, right in January, late December of 2016, early January of 2017, by the Falcor, the Schmidt Institute, Ocean Institute's ship. And we have a couple people in the event log who are involved in that mapping cruise, Dr. John Smith and Jonathan Tree from the University of Hawaii, who are in the event log monitoring the geology. And I'm sure they're eager for us to grab a rock. We have not seen a good candidate so far, but we're keeping our eyes open.
Chris, if I could just make a comment. I'm seeing the bottom here is still very consolidated, but we have far fewer animals. And so I think, the last place we were looking at is a local high, actually, just like we're passing here, you get up a little bit higher, and that's a better place for suspension feeding animals. But something else must have been going on down there, and I wonder, it was just a lucky place for recruitment in addition to being a local high. But it's really interesting to see these patterns, and it's going to take us a while to figure out why we see these pretty big changes in density over very small scales.
Yeah, one thing too, Scott, is it's pretty clear sediment on this rock, which always helps. I think corals and at least some of the sponges don't respond well to a lot of sedimentation, so that's somehow involved as well, I'm sure. We've got a stock sponge here in the subfamily Bolosomini. That's this yellow one, and I already noted it earlier, Bolosomini new species 1. It's a little bit different than the white one that we imaged. And we've got some other types of sponges here on the... I wonder if we could take a quick peek at this white one that's going off to the left. Just a quick snap zoom, because we can keep moving.
We're done with that move, and probably another 5 minutes before Serial settles out. But whenever you're ready, we can get another one. Watch lead nav.
Roger, Nav, go ahead.
I adjusted the range on those plots, but there seems to be a problem with that oxygen sensor. I can't clean that up. You can look at the Sirius one. That's on the hydrophone computer, and we have all the same sensors on that.
Thanks very much, Dave. I'll go ahead and take a look at that. We're talking about the CTD, and there's a lot of noise on the ROV oxygen sensor right now. So I'm gonna see if I can get
let's go ahead.
A little more information for you, a little cleaner information from the Sirius oxygen sensor. So one of these days we'll have to grab one of these. I'm not sure we want to grab things quite so early, but it's almost sponge time. We got a bunch of corals and some other things, but this is a really weird sponge that we've noted on previous dives elsewhere. That I really don't know what this thing is. I assume it's a hard sponge, probably in the family Eurydidae, but that's about as far as I can go, and I'm not even sure it is a Eurydiid. Maybe something else altogether different.
Just going to go down to the base.
That's interesting, Chris.
Chris, do you know, are there any hypotheses on the sort of gross morphology of these sort of sponges? I mean, I see what look like a series of almost chimney-like tubes on this thing. Any idea why it's got that sort of shape?
No, and that's why this is so curious to me. Those are osculum. The water is exiting the sponge through those large holes, but this is like the only one I've ever seen that's got these big osculums on the leaves, if you will, that are coming off of the main base. And so it's mind-boggling. I have no idea what this is. But could certainly hold off on this, or we can put it out there if people would agree to collect this thing. It's definitely very, very unusual, and we don't know what it is, but I'm fine if we want to move on as well. And I've got a picture.
I'm fine with a collection of it. It does look unusual, and it's almost like you have an aggregation of a whole bunch of individual sponges, each with its own large osculum, as opposed to one major osculum. Very interesting.
Yeah, this one we do have in the guide. It's in sort of an outdated order, Hexactinosida. Martin Dorman in Germany revised the hexactinellids on a paper earlier this year. And we've got it as possibly being in the family Alloplacidae and an Alloplax, but we're not real certain because there's never been a collection of it. I'm just waiting to hear from anybody else. Like I said, I'm fine if you folks would want to wait. Tina was okay with the collection. I think I don't know if anyone else wants to weigh in on it. And yes, I'm a little biased for sponges, but I certainly would not direct us to something that was not potentially a brand new species either.
Tina votes to collect?
Yeah, she voted. She said, I think we have to collect, is her comment on there. If no one else wants to weigh in on that, Pilot, are you in a position to grab this?
Yeah, we're in a great position, actually. Can you come full wide video?
You have everything except port inner available.
So Scott also
Copy.
noted he's never
Ship
seen a
has been
sponge like
stationary
this.
for 5
and
minutes, so we should be
yeah,
pretty
it's
stable.
just
Capture.
it's on my
Hydraulics
it was
are
on
spun
my
up.
list of things to look out for, guys. I don't understand it at all, and I can probably do if we get a piece of this, I can probably do a bleach prep tonight and get close at least to what family it's in, which would be extremely informative.
We expect a hard sponge, Chris?
Yes, I would expect it to be hard. I would say if you want to try to grab the upper half of it or so,
Copy.
and then it'll snap. I think. Hopefully it won't go to pieces, but
Can you
if you
bring up
never
my
collected
matrices?
it before, we have no
Copy
idea
that.
how it's going to respond.
Okay. I can reach that.
There's that amphipod again. Oh, was it? Oh.
Okay, wow, spun up there.
Yep, you are.
All right.
So it actually is sponge time then, Chris.
It's always sponge time.
Sponge time on the Okeanos Explorer.
I've been trying hard not to request collection of sponges. I try to round it all out with a variety of
Does that
different
work
animals
for
to
you there?
accommodate
That's
everybody
great.
here.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
this thing is so unusual, so
Hydraulics come on.
troubling. I just had to
Copy that.
throw this out this time because
That's
it's
the magic words, Chris.
yep, troubling.
Discovering new species, discovering things that give us trouble. Scientifically.
Okay, how much are we talking here, Chris? As much as we can?
How about below the wings of it that are sticking out, if you could? Yeah, as much as you can.
Okay.
It's probably going to be looked at by a bunch of people, I think, or at least a couple of people.
Can we do a partial zoom on the main Zeus video? Thank you. Okay, that's good there. Okay, well, it's about as wide as the jaws. So I'll just go underneath that first wing there. What do you think?
As good as any.
Sako Matsumoto also agreed with collection. Asako's joining us from the Chiba Institute in Japan, so thank you, Asako.
Oh, got the whole thing. Oops.
Okay, well, Since the other one's fallen off, maybe we could just grab both species or both pieces, but this would be fine.
So
And
you
we've
got a
got a little
crustacean in there.
hanger on here too.
I'm
Looks
going
like
to
you got
follow
a
you
shrimp.
with the mini Zeus.
Yeah, go ahead. Tilt down. I think we can open the drawer. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
Which side you going to shoot for? You think?
You can go port outer. That's available.
Okay.
Okay. What's in port inner? It's nothing that'll float away.
Nothing
That's a
that'll
black
float away.
coral.
Yeah, he said it sank down to the
think it'll
bottom. So.
sink.
That's great. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Sean told me that earlier.
Okay. Well, let's push out with.
Okay, coming out with the drawer.
Come full wide on main Zeus. Thank you.
Yeah, just looking at this side
Just
of
make
it,
sure it doesn't-
again,
yeah,
just
watch
reiterates, I've never seen a sponge that looked like this before. I mentioned when we collected the black
yeah, we're
coral
touching
too,
that.
Yeah,
just for those who are watching, we may very
let's see
well
here. We have
be
enough
looking
on the
at a
tilt
brand
down
new
a little bit,
species.
see if
We
you
have
have
gotten
enough
some
room there.
video of this
Yeah,
before, but
it's
have never
partial.
collected it. So we're doing the
Maybe
real
I
I can
first
lift off
pivot.
a little.
step in trying to
It's
decipher
like
what
we
it is.
bottomed out on the
and-
starboard side. I don't know about the port.
Okay. How much further does it need to go?
It's only going to go a little bit.
2-3
not
inches.
much,
to
yeah.
do it.
Try to nudge it.
All right.
See what that does. Okay. Yeah.
Good enough?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
You going to image it first in front of the camera?
I don't know. Do we want to do that?
Sure. We could get the shrimp if you want to image the shrimp, but is a little wobbly.
Yeah,
little,
I'd like to just get it
Yeah,
in
let's
the
put
box.
it in.
Okay,
Okay.
can you tilt down on the knees?
Coming down.
Because it is brittle and it could break off at any moment.
I think we could go out a little bit more too if you want.
Stand by on that.
Okay.
It's going in port outer. Yep, you're already all set up there.
We're going to have to go out a little more, I think.
All right. Let me bump it out a little bit.
Yeah.
That's all the way.
It broke off. Yeah.
Maybe you can just bump it in there with the arm. Slow up.
Can you zoom on Mini Zeus? Hold there. Center up.
Just let it fall.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Okay, I can
Good.
breathe now. Fantastic. Great job, Chris and crew up there, Don and Dave.
We're good.
Hold the
there,
rest.
yeah.
That
Go
was
for the other
interesting.
piece.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Let's do. Yeah, thanks. Oh, that's like super brittle compared to the other one.
Got it.
Great. That is just fantastic.
Okay, drawer coming
Thanks
close.
very much, guys. That,
There we go.
You got it.
Get
Okay.
you over here so you can see.
Yeah, perfect. jaws or the blades. Need to spin.
That's a
Okay.
Gorgia. They
Can
were
you
zooming it.
Switch back to mini-zoos, please.
I'll get it.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a Pepacrysa gorgid.
Okay.
Okay.
We're good.
All right.
Hydraulics off. Thanks for the help, Don.
No problem. And okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's
That's all right.
that's the price of a salvo.
So,
That's all right.
so Scott is in
Yeah, perfect.
the event log here, and he says, I don't think I've ever heard why the Seamount is tentatively named Sally. And I'm not going to tell you, Scott, because I need Jonathan Tree or John Smith to call in and tell us about the names of these seamounts we're going to be diving on. And if they don't call in, then you're never going to know. And you can blame them and send them emails. I'll send you their email
Go
addresses
ahead and push
so
ahead.
you can
We're
get on
looking down.
about it.
Copy that. I think we can go
Get
ahead and
another
get
move
that
in.
move in,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Is 210 still good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Point out today that you have the special triumvirate of Chris's running your Okeanos Explorer expedition. Chris piloting, and the two Chris's in the back.
Yeah, and John
Right,
Smith,
I'll
just to
ask
let you
for,
know, Scott says he already has your email address,
30
pal.
meters, 20,
So,
30? Let's do 30.
okay, if you don't want
30
him
is good.
bugging you about this, this is you need to do it.
Bridge
You need to
now.
call in. So we have another
We'd like
black
another
coral,
move,
I
please.
think, that orange.
30 meters, bearing 210, speed 0.2.
Which subject
Yeah,
here?
Range 30 meters, bearing 210, speed
Maybe
0.2.
which one do
Good copy.
you would you think? There's actually 3 black corals right in a line here. Which one should we shoot at here?
Center one, the yellowish one.
Do you catch that pilot? Is the center one where
Sure.
your lasers are right now?
Yeah, sounds good.
I think actually also in the foreground on the lower left, maybe a Metallogorgia or a Chrysogorgia, very faint. We just passed it in front of that bamboo whip.
Okay, let's go ahead and
You
push
just make
in
a note of
video.
that.
Okay.
This looks like 2 Bassopathes type black corals next to each other. The one that the lasers are on, it's kind of orangey yellow in color. And then the
Are we
lighter
now?
one
Move
to its
initiated.
right. I think they may both
Thank
be
you,
the
Bridge.
same genus, possibly different species. It'll be interesting to see if Tina Molasilva agrees with that.
Yeah, keep pushing if you need to.
Yes, it was Roland.
Full zone.
Copy.
I think we've noted this several times. Chris, I've heard you say this at least on 1 or 2 dives already. This expedition, that the common name black coral refers to the skeleton. So very often when we see these, they are not in fact black. The color that we see is the result of the soft tissue that is covering the skeleton, that secretes the skeleton. In this close-up view, you can see these little protrusions sticking up between every 6 tentacle, and that's the little hypostome that has the mouth on the tip, and basically that's where most of the digestive space is.
Okay, let's
enclosed,
come wide video.
just in that little
Or
tube.
full
So you can see
frame.
for each
Just wanna get a
individual
specimen.
polyp, there isn't a lot of space for ingesting and digesting, but all these polyps together manage to get enough food for this thing to grow. Black
So,
corals
pilot,
are
he saw something
known,
that's below the
this
frame
particular
right now, I
species,
think,
but
that he
known
was
to be the
interested in.
oldest coral
Okay,
so
can we come
far
live
used
video?
in the more than 4,000 years old. They probably have a fairly low metabolic rate, so they probably glow very, very slowly.
There it is, right to the lower left,
Ah.
that very wispy thing.
Okay.
Yeah, Scott, I got a little distracted. I was directing the pilot to the Chrysogorgid that you had pointed out here to make sure we got to look at that before we left the spot.
This wispy one or the one down below?
Yeah, the wispy one
Okay.
that's just below the
Tina does
lasers.
agree both
Yeah, we can come on
Bassopathes
in
for
video.
the moment. The one on the left
talking
may be
about
the
one
species
below that, I
Bassopathes
think.
patula, and she isn't sure about the one on the right.
Are we going for
Yes.
this one, Chris, or the
No,
one
no,
underneath?
the other one.
Okay.
But so this is there it is. That's the guy. I think he was he'd spotted. And look at the crab in there. the squat lobster.
You don't want them to look too close to that bamboo coral. Is that what I'm hearing, Chris?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We can go back to it. Sorry, Scott.
Another chrysogorgiid, which is a name for a family, the golden corals, and you can see that nice coloration of the skeleton right through the tissue, kind of gold yellow. And this would be in the genus Chrysogorgia, which is the largest genus in that family. Earlier, we had been looking at the Iridogorgia, those big spiraling colonies, also in the same family. And I mentioned when we were having a close-up look there, you can always see these almost like little teardrop polyps. They're very delicate, sit on top of the branches. And very commonly, we see these chirostylid squat lobsters. Chirostylidae is a family. These squat lobsters that live in the branches of these corals, and there's a very close host-species relationship, meaning specific species of these squat lobsters live associated with specific species of octocoral. There may also be some aplacophora, the worm-like mollusks on there. I see there's a couple of orange-like things on the upper right.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, well, actually, we've got a ship move underway. Is there anything else here we want to take a look at?
I think we're good for now. I'm not seeing any other requests in there. So, thank you. There's a ship move, so we have to move on a little bit. Hopefully that glimpse of the bamboo would be good enough for you, Scott. And look at the corals that are lining up right on the top of this ridge. Scott was making the comment below that they prefer these little high points on the substrate, and that would certainly confirm it because they're all kind of right on the little peak here of this hill.
I'm seeing something in the distance, Chris. It looks like it's much rounder and brown. Is that just another one of the bathypathes? Maybe it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's another one that we just imaged. And then we got some more of these stocked bolosoma sponges or bolosoma knee. Some more of the smaller bamboos, the fan-shaped bamboos. But nice little community here right on the top.
A really nice example here of how the local high point is the key preferred area for these suspension feeders. And you can also see that many of these fan-like colonies are oriented in the same plane, which is suggesting that the current is moving across this area. And so that the widest part of the fan is oriented to the direction of the current.
Yeah, good observation. And some of these corals that can't really change their directions, they can be indicators of the predominant current,
exactly
the prevailing current flow. So, let's see, your heading right now is what? It's 213, 210 degrees?
Yeah.
So that would mean we're almost about perpendicular, 90 degrees from the face of the sponges, right?
Thank you, Bridge.
Correct, yeah. So it's the current would be roughly southeast to northwest.
Sure, it would be nice if you're about to say that this correlates with the direction of this main ridge arm that's coming out of the seamount.
Yeah, so Chris said it would make the current southeast to northwest, which is maybe very likely why we're seeing a nice grouping of corals, because it's coming up and across this ridge, which we've seen in other locations.
I'm sure
across
it's just trying to trick you.
A current that's running across the crest of a ridge has been pretty productive.
Yeah, Chris, you can see the particles and marine
and you
snow
made that observation that, these are fairly slow growing, so they can't simply just change their orientation, at least not these species that we're looking at now. Some of the unbranched whips and other coiled forms are much more flexible and can perhaps move. But one thing that's interesting, we have seen this in some places, is that if the dominant current does change direction through the lifetime of the coral, you can actually see a shift in the way that the colony is growing, such that later branches grow in a different orientation from lower branches. And that very often happens if a larva, for example, will settle on the side of a rock. It'll grow out for some time, and then it'll reorient so that it grows upwards. But you can also see that if the major current changes.
That felt solid.
Pretty big. Yeah. You would go for that, Chris?
Freebie.
Could you?
I don't know.
I mean, It just looks
You
big,
could
that's
grab
all.
and it
I mean,
just
those
barely
lasers
fit
could
in
be
the-
off. They could be 5 centimeters, couldn't they?
Like
Those lasers are 10.00.
Dave, are you absolutely sure?
It looks a little large, unfortunately.
Oh.
What do you guys think?
I think it's
Your
too
call.
big. There's
That's
another
pretty
one up
big.
there, though. Up. Looks like it may be free.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, sorry.
I guess they calibrated their lasers correct.
What do you think about that
A little bit too big.
one?
would've
That looks
been
like it might be loose.
You can't
Yeah, it
really,
might be.
you can't really cry over rocks and not collect it, I suppose.
I guess
Yeah,
not.
That one's loose.
as maintainer of our weight spreadsheet, I can't in good conscience take that rock. I think this one might be loose, though, too. I think it
Promising.
looks like
But it's that
The
big
big
one. Those little ones are too little and
Too
flat,
little.
I think.
yeah, the bigger one.
Yeah.
Maybe we can give it a go if you want the bigger one.
Looks a little flat. Maybe we can move on.
Copy.
See what we can get.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's kind of at an angle on the slope there. That's a different sponge, by the way, but we can go ahead and move on. That's Semperella, but this one has landed on the rock, and it's in the Pharyngimatida. I'm going to go ahead and log it. This is the one that's got the brown mat all around the base, and this is in the family Pharyngimatida.
That's a brittle star falling off of the Iridogorgia off to the side there.
There's also another type of black coral that we have. Well, how about a snap zoom on the sponge and then a snap zoom
Okay, come on,
on
NVIDIA.
the black coral to the right?
Is that another stock that isn't?
And behind the
Yeah, it's some type of dead
is that
stock.
a bottle brush Chrysogorgia?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna. Well, there was a bottle brush, like a Trisopathes or something to the right that we were going to try to get on. I didn't see the bottle brush Chrysogorgia though. But this is Semperella we're looking at right now. It's a glass sponge, often is seen in sediment, but every once in a while we see them on rocks. And it's attached to the rock for the very matte, fibrous type of base that you see all around it. They're like grappling hooks that are holding on to the rocks. Does better in sediments,
Let's come wide video.
but some of these manage to get squared away on the rock. And then right to the right of the
I'm
sponge,
going to change my head a little bit.
two
just to
corals
keep you in
over.
view.
Copy. Right here.
That's the guy right where the lasers are.
Copy. How we doing on that ship move?
Ship move's done. Serial should be settling out.
Copy. Let's go ahead, NVIDIA.
I see the one you're talking about, Scott, the Chrysogorgia. Sorry, I didn't see it earlier. So we're going to maybe see if we can take a look at that after this. Okay, care to,
No problem.
you want to give this a go, Scott?
Not really. Sorry, just kidding. So what do we think here? Maybe Trisopathes or
Tilt up slightly.
not as familiar. I'm guessing it's some kind of Trisopathes, and so it is a black coral. We can tell that from the very small shape of the very small size of the polyp and the shape of the tentacles of the. And the fact that you have these really, really short branches or pinnules in between longer ones, and the fact that this is multi-branched suggests it's in the genus Trisopathes, and I could not go farther to try to put it into a species.
Okay, well, Tina Molitsova has supported your identification, Scott. She agrees that it's Trisopathes. So we're good for science, whatever
Copy.
video's done.
Just let me know video.
And if you were
Well said.
going this
Copy.
way, I'm not sure which way you're going, other than sort of straight ahead.
Yep.
But see that bottle brush that's between the two bamboos? It's just to the left of this yellow large bamboo in the background.
I do, yes.
Yeah, he expressed interest in that one, I believe.
Copy that. Yeah, we're going that way.
Yeah, I don't think this is one we've seen on the dive yet, so just make a note of it. I'm pretty sure that it will end up being in the genus Chrysogorgia. And there are many what we call bottle brush type morphologies in that genus. I said earlier that there are a lot of species in that genus. There's more than 60 described species in the genus Chrysogorgia, so it's really quite diverse.
So this is some
Primnoid in the background, Chris, that thing that's almost V-shaped.
Just go ahead and put another one in.
Right.
Yeah, there's two of them that look like there's some type of a calyptrophora or paracalyptrophora. There's one off screen on the right, and then right directly behind what we're about to zoom in on is another one. I'm going to look in the guide.
Bridge now.
I think we collected a piece of this.
So the Chrysogorgia we noted earlier when we had a look at it, had a squat lobster,
30 meters,
a
carrying
little
200, speed
so
0.2.
to see if there's one in this colony. As I say,
right there.
they're very often
Range
associated with these
meters,
Chrysogorgia,
bearing 200,
genus
speed
Chrysogorgia.
0
And I do
decimal
believe I see at least one in there. There's one, the upper part of the view, and I think I saw a second one lower down in this colony. So these squat lobsters seem to like living associated with various species of Chrysogorgia. They're also found on other kinds of corals, but very commonly on these Chrysogorgias.
Take a look for that other guy. There's one.
There it is.
So, Scott, in our guide, those lyrate primnoids that we were talking about, and we imaged one of these earlier on. Steve Cairns at the Smithsonian believes these are Calyptrophora angularis. We collected a piece of one of these last year off of Wake, and I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to find it in here, but I think that's what he thought it was, at least Calyptrophora.
Well, Steve Cairns is not somebody I would want to try to overrule when we're talking about primnoids, him being the expert on that group.
All right. Let's come full wide.
You should note just behind this bottle brush, right behind it and to its left are two of these bamboo coral colonies that I was pointing out earlier have a very angular growth of the branches compared to, actually just here on the left, the one that has these more smooth, curvaceous branches. So that's one way to tell that we're looking at two different species of bamboo coral there.
And those leggy ones are possibly Isodella. Is that correct, Scott, if I'm remembering
There's some
correctly?
Yep, that is correct. Isodella for the more angular branching.
Yeah, look at these colonies that are coming up now. You're getting some bigger and bigger stuff
There's
showing
rocks.
up. Oh, we're looking at rocks. Okay.
Bob, just
No,
pointing them out.
no, great. Let's look at rocks before. You can see how big these corals and these sponges are. These are Tritopleura, these glass sponges here.
It
Just
looks
by
pretty big. That looks nice, doesn't it?
seeing the laser dots, which are 10 centimeters, these things are a meter
Yeah.
high, if not more. But anyway, let's see if we can find a rock here.
Perhaps
Even though
the
John
one
Smith did
Looks
not
like the
call in
sponges
yet.
are oriented in the
You
same
turn to
way as
keep me
the
in
coral.
view there.
yeah.
If you don't
Sorry,
mind.
I was
No
watching.
problem. What are you guys looking like right
Yeah,
here?
Yeah.
how about
Yeah.
that one?
Yep, right where the lasers are.
Do you want me to call up a stop?
Yeah.
We're moving right now.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We think we're going to go for it. No,
Bridge now.
This is the bridge. Go ahead.
Can we hold here, please?
Present heading. Holding.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, whatever. Sure. All right.
Yeah, that looks as good as any of the rocks we've seen today. So with any luck, it's got a little basalt. So what we're trying to do with these rocks, again, is we're trying to find one that we think might have some actual basalt or lava, old lava that's solidified inside the center of it, because you can use that to age the seamount. Sometimes you grab a rock that looks like it could be productive and it's got sediment inside and it's just a manganese crust on the outside, and while it's good for mineral examination of the crust and analysis of the crust components, it doesn't help with dating a seamount. So if we can get a rock that has basalt and crust, then that's the best rock that we can find. So there's a little pause here as they change seats here, and the co-pilot Don is now going to take over the pilot's chair, and he's going to try to grab this rock for us.
Okay. All right, I'll keep an eye on Sirius. I'm just going to come up over you if we swing. So I do have both of your front toes down, but
yeah, that's it. Oh, the rock. Sorry.
As always, just be careful for wobbling.
Okay. All right. We're gonna call this manganese crusted rock because that's the best we can do right now.
Take care, Zeus, if that's okay.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was at 5, but yeah, sure.
Nav, what's lead?
Go ahead.
Hi, Dave. What was that site where you said I could look at the Sirius CTD?
It's on the hydrophone computer.
Got it. Thank you very much.
I think you're within reach. You should be able to.
Okay. That's cleaner trace. So I just switched over to look at the Sirius CTD, and I'll just give a little, while he's grabbing this rock, I'll give a little comment about the oxygen. Looks to me like the oxygen minimum took place at, what is that about? See, I'm not sure. Dave, can you help me out on what the scale is?
Yeah, it's a little awkward. Let me play with that a little bit. Go ahead, dry lap.
That's a good rock.
Probably stand by 1 minute. Watchley, that should be better. It looks like maybe 550 meters was the minimum.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Nav. So, looks like our minimum was right about 550 meters, and it got down to about 0.8, 0.7 milligrams per milliliter.
Where do you want to go with this guy?
So,
I guess you want to image. Well, we kind of have to go in the starboard one. Yeah. But
Dry lab nav,
you
can go ahead and take the ADCP down.
Chris, there's a fish off to the left when we're not, if we get around to it. Oh, well, it might be later.
So, pilot, this is going into which box, please? Starboard rock box. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Forward. Yeah, starboard, forward.
Never know.
Well, didn't notice anything on there. Did you see anything, Chris, on the surface?
Rock or the
yeah,
fish?
The rock.
No.
They're just doing their typical scan of the surface. Look for associates. Okay.
All right.
Whoops, whoops, whoops.
There you go. Sure. Get you a little more light. Yeah, nice. it is.
Great. Thank you very much, pilot. And, the rock is now secure in the box. We got our first rock sample.
Bridge, nav.
Let me tilt up for you. Sorry.
This is the bridge. Go ahead.
Just a heads up, they've taken the ADCP down for some troubleshooting. The last measurements we saw of that were essentially zero current.
Looks like you got
All right.
blades
zero current.
outside now.
Any clue
Yeah.
when it'll have to be back up?
So
they said
Chris,
maybe half an
I
hour.
hate to say this,
Okay.
but
All right, fine. Thank you
I
very much.
think deep sea stars follow social media, and you do a lot of Twitter and tweeting and so forth. And I think that they knew you were out on the ship for this cruise,
it's hitting a
and
limit.
you were going to try to
So-
collect them. Word got out, and
So,
they're all hiding right now. So,
What you can do is just
I
turn
mean,
one way,
this is
half,
one of
and then
the
index out,
downsides of social
and then
media,
index
if
back
you
in and
ask
turn
me,
the other way.
because we're,
Yes, we all know that the deep sea starfish are
Yeah,
watching
exactly.
the Twitters as we speak. That's what they call the deep net.
And that was kind of an opening to try to explain why we have seen so few sea stars on this cruise, except for
Nice.
that one shallow dive.
Oh.
We
This
always
is-
see more than this.
Copy that.
Distribution is patchy,
Oh, you
so
got it.
I think we'll see
Okay.
it eventually. We'll see
Spin.
one eventually. We saw one
Actually,
today. We just haven't seen
I need
any
to reposition
coral devouring sea stars.
Starboard lower, but I'll do that.
I think we will as we move on. We've been in this patch for quite a while, so I think as we diversify and sample more of this area, we'll certainly encounter them.
So, pilot, if you missed that, they've taken the ADCP offline for some troubleshooting, but there's essentially no current, so we're fine without it for now.
All right. Oh,
So-
I think I took off EXRV when I was talking to you. Sorry.
So Jonathan
EXRV
Tree
you can
is
turn on.
answering
Yeah, there
the
you go.
question about the origin
Top
and name
left.
of the Seamount. But Jonathan, I'm sorry, it does not count to be in the event log. You
There you
need to call in and give this
okay.
a verbal explanation.
I'm thinking of
because
that
I'm not
box
going to
there.
recite
Oh,
it.
yeah.
You got to
Okay.
call in. That's it.
Okay. Watch lead. Is there anything you wanted to look at the top of this feature here?
Pilot, I think we're good.
Good.
think-
We can get.
We'll make a few tracks here
Okay.
and then wait for any.
And our heading
Any
was
requests as they come in?
200, correct? Is that right?
About
Dave?
200, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've spun around a little
Roger,
bit, but
go ahead.
Yeah. All right.
I think we could start to get a move in once you get back on heading.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like we stopped right over you. Actually, not even.
Yeah, a little shy.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's Kelly Elliott, the expedition manager. And Kelly, as it is right now, I'm not saying a thing because Jonathan and John are not calling in. So I'm not going to mention it on air. But that's a very good tip that we can remind them as well. I'm sure they know better than we do.
Go
Yeah,
around
thank
so
you.
I don't plow these over.
And of course, if it doesn't work, if I can't.
The piece that's on the left has the head part much smaller. Do you think that's
Looks like
just
we're a little
starting
heavier
to grow?
now. Maybe I should.
Oh, yeah.
Good question. I don't know,
I
Scott.
think I've asked you this before. I think we've talked about this. It's just interesting from the perspective of the elongate spicules that
A little bit
create the
less there.
stalk.
Okay. All right.
When do they grow? Can
That should be
the
good.
sponge grow upwards and continue to secrete and make the stalk, or what? I don't know.
All right. Pushing ahead now.
I suspect.
Ready for that
Yeah, honestly, it's a very good question.
sure.
I honestly do
Yeah.
not know how they lay
can push
down
out
those
ahead.
Push out ahead.
extremely long
Fairly quickly here.
spicules
And,
that form the
210?
stalk on these sponges, whether they're just continually elongating
200 is
spicules
fine.
up in the
Yeah.
ball, which is where the living tissue is, or whether there's living tissue on the
Sorry,
stalk.
can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're still there, just to the left, I think the
Bridge now.
bamboo coral we just passed on the left
This
is
is the
different
bridge.
from
Go
the other
ahead.
things we've seen.
Ready for another
if we've
ship
already
move?
gone too far, that's fine.
30 meters.
I think we
bearing
have passed it, Scott.
Speed 0.2.
No problem. Well, hopefully we'll see it again.
I heard
30
somebody
meters,
call in, I think.
Bearing 200, speed.
Yeah,
zero,
Chris,
decimal
it's
two.
John.
Yeah,
Coming up.
I heard
right.
my name in vain as I walked into my office.
Absolutely, I've been saying it. So, John, we were trying to get you on for a little geologic commentary and also for the Seamount names here. Kelly Elliott reminded me to make sure we noted that these are informal names. But can you tell us a little bit about why this is called Sally Seamount?
Yeah, so I guess a little bit back previous to that, I mean, one of the some of the naming conventions of tradition are you often to name features
ROV
by
now,
either
bridge,
maybe
move
their
initiated.
discoverer or
Thank you,
after
Rich.
a ship. A lot of times it ends up being a captain of a ship that ran aground, unfortunately, but sometimes it's just discoveries. So you tend to pay homage to previous expeditions that have gone before you. So the Sally Seamount, Sally was the name of the American brig or sailing ship named Sally that ran accidentally grounded on a shoal near the islands here back in 1796. And that was the first documented western discovery of Johnston Atoll Island group. And the captain was an American captain named Joseph Pierpont. And we also preliminarily named another seamount after him, even though he was the first to write it up or discover it. He didn't claim it or name it, which is kind of unusual. So we thought that maybe we should name one of the seamounts after him and after his ship. The actual Johnston was actually named after a British captain who came some years later and did name it. And I don't believe they claimed it at that time, but he named it Johnston after himself.
Catch up.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. I appreciate it. I think that clarifies it for a lot of the
5+
audience
minutes
here.
away,
And
I think.
so, John,
Yeah,
I have
copy
another
that.
question. Why are you getting the name the Seamount? So, what role did you have with this particular Seamount and some of the other ones? Maybe you could explain that a little bit. I've sort of mentioned there was a
Side
cruise here,
excursion.
but maybe you could
Yeah,
give some details.
check out what's
What do you see?
in the darkness over here. I was just
Yeah,
saying
sure. So
exactly what
it's
you were
not
thinking, probably.
strictly like a rule that somebody has to have been involved in, some project that investigated the seamounts, but it's kind of also part of the tradition that if you're involved in an expedition of some sort, that and especially if you're first discovering or first mapping in detail or diving on the feature, that you might have first cut at naming it. It's just kind of a
Reaching up
I
at
don't
you.
know, tradition or a courtesy or something like that.
Suspension.
So we had a cruise on the Schmidt Ocean Institute Foundation vessel, research vessel Falcor, back in right over New Year's of this year, so early January, and we had a transit cruise from Guam to Honolulu, and we were able to propose about 5 or 6 days of work on that. It was like right on the transit line, so it was very efficient to come, and we mapped about 6 or 7 seamounts in the Johnston Atoll Monument Unit. And so those were the first, they had been previously basically no mapping data of any significance, no modern multi-beam mapping data, so they were very just the kind of global topography, satellite-derived imagery, very kind of like the mushy part of Google Earth if you zoom into something that hasn't been mapped in detail. So as I said, we mapped those, so it was kind of left up to us to propose some names, at least names that could be used while we knew Okeanos was coming here later in the year, and they'd probably want to dive on some of those features. So there's a little bit of a push there to get some good names.
All right, John, the final thing, since we got you on board on the line and you're a geologist, you want to say anything about the geology we're seeing here today?
Yeah, that's kind of typical for what you'd expect for a seamount here.
Fish right to your left there.
Low release.
I don't think we've seen many.
Lava lobes that are covered in
now,
this manganese crust and this
looks like he's a little high.
botryoidal texture, which is this lumpy, small, looks like little peas, or actually the word means grapey.
Up a little bit.
I think it's a Greek word, means grapey texture.
Are you
so
still a little heavy?
You can imagine
Yeah,
like
I think so.
a bunch of grapes, and then with the sediment in
Yeah, we see the fish. I'm trying to
kind of
come around
bumpy
on
like.
him.
I gotta get a little.
And so that's what I've seen so
bring
far,
out
of
the
course,
background
with
in
sediment in
main Zeus.
between the kind of the lava features, the low relief lava features.
Just off to the right,
I kind of expect that for a feature that's tens of millions of years old.
Great. Thank you very much. And that was the voice of Dr. John Smith calling in from the School of Ocean and Earth Science Technology at the University of Hawaii. Thanks so much, John. I appreciate it. And hope to hear your voice again as this this dive, or at least on another dive on one of these seamounts that you and Jonathan Tree and the Schmidt group were responsible for mapping. So thanks again.
Okay. And I'll have some more comment on the naming when we get to one of the other seamounts. It's kind of a interesting thing when you look back into it, back into the history. It's kind of a history lesson. You have to research as well as doing your.
Well, I'm gonna bug you about each seamount that you guys have got a proposed name out for. So you expect to get more prodding in the next few days.
All right.
Thanks again, John. Appreciate it.
Chris, can I ask? We've passed a few of these really leggy bamboo corals. There's one in the frame now that's got like 3 very elongate branches coming from a base. Either that one or a little bit, if you're going up towards the left there's another one. The distance might be easier to see, but I think these are all different from the other bamboo corals we've observed.
The one dead center?
Which one are you talking about, Scott? I think it's to the right. Is that right? Or I think that's the one you're talking about.
The one I'm talking about right now is behind everything else, so you can't really see it.
All right, I'll go around.
So not these fans in the foreground.
Right under me.
Okay. The pilot's going to go around a little bit, see if he can spot the one you're talking about.
Copy.
Yeah, I mean, if your direction was basically to the left, that's fine. Just keep going that direction. There was another one coming up.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
we're going more to the right.
We're going to the right, and we need to move because Sirius is above us and still moving. So,
got it.
I'll try to find this one here he was talking about. So it's behind.
Yes, Scott. So he needs to move.
Oh, I think I see. Yeah, it's just 3 singular ones, sort of.
Well, that's good. The direction you're going now is favorable. Yeah. You're going to see when you pass these colonies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I see it. I think I see it.
There's one colony behind it. It looks like 3 very long whips that join together near the base.
Copy
yeah,
that.
he's got it, Scott. So I think he's going to be able to get over there and take a look.
Close to those fans.
Yeah, I see it.
I know, Chris, you've heard me say this repeatedly as probably all the pilots getting tired of it, but we see a lot of unbranched whip-like bamboos. But here's an interesting one where there's clearly the right side there looks like it's one whip, but then there are 2 others that are arising from it. And so the question is that going to continue to put out multiple branches as it ages so that it ends up looking later on like the fans that are on the right? Or is it some aberrant growth of what is typically a whip? Or
pilot, let me know when I have to move.
Settlement of larvae on a whip to create
we'll
2
be
other
settled,
whips that
so
instead of
you'll
growing
be
off
okay,
a rock
but
are actually growing off an existing one. So these are all alternate possibilities.
Yeah.
Quicker we can get done with that, the better.
Yeah, but Scott, each of the branches is about the same length, so wouldn't that suggest probably a fairly close origin, that maybe those 2 side branches on the left came out fairly early in the growth of this colony, or not? Am I mistaken about that?
Yeah, well, no, sir. That's certainly a hypothesis that is a possibility. The thing is, if this is something that regularly branches, why aren't there other branches? Why does it grow
to zoom in?
to such a high size, so tall, without any more sub-branching, which is what you see in all these fan-like corals around it?
Yeah, and there also looks like there was a little nub on the right side, right about where the two ones on the left are coming out. So it might have been an aborted attempt to grow yet another branch.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Or it's a new one arising.
Yeah,
But,
that's right.
Each of those is very thick. It's very thick, and so that would suggest that this whole colony is fairly old. And I agree with you. Each of those individual, we'll call them branches or stems, does look to be about the same diameter, which suggests they're all about the same age.
Yeah, other thing just to note, Scott, that both of these branches are coming out of the same inner node segment right on the base, if I'm looking at this right, because you can see a band, a node right at the base, and then you can see a node just above the two branches.
Yep, I see exactly what you mean.
So can we do better than bamboo on this, Scott? You got anything, a clade or anything else that you can say about this?
All right, let's get done with this one.
Okay.
Here.
All right, watch lead. We're going to have to
I'm looking
move
at
now.
the sclerites now.
Roger, thank you, pilot.
Okay, copy that.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, they got to move.
It's probably going to be down in that D clade. D as
Your
in dog.
camera's back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll
If you
put
just
it
come
as
straight up.
D-clade.
There's actually two subclades in there, D1 and D2. And there are lots of taxa in there, and that's where keratoisis and ectomysis, they're all sort of mixed in together.
To starboard.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there
If you had
you
to go, we've got the other vehicle moving off, so it's about the only look he could give you, but hopefully that'll be enough.
Yeah, you can see your lights
A little
lined up.
cucumber here on the way
Thank you.
over.
Where is it? Oh, yeah, there he is.
Looks like another Hansenopteria.
Yep, okay.
Gonna throw an
Quick
annotation
zoom.
out for that one.
Let's see if I can back up a little bit. There we go. Okay.
Nav,
So
come
about
out.
20 centimeters
Hey,
long.
Okay.
Is there
gotta keep moving,
an extreme
watch
desire
this.
to reach a certain depth?
I'll talk to them about it.
Yeah,
It's getting
'cause-
to the point that I don't think we're going to.
Yeah.
It'd probably be a good idea. We've been catching so many new animals, we probably haven't made it too far up the Seamount
No,
yet.
not very far at all.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we can go for a while, and then I'll just wait to hear if Scott or someone else has got another request.
Copy that.
Or I suppose if
Come
we
a little
see
more
sea
starboard.
star, we
Come
could
and
stop.
stop. Roger that.
If we see anything at this point, I'll mention it if it's not a coral.
I'd like to just speed along.
Okay.
So I'll wait
Chris is
until we
saying
get
is he's got a case of
straightened
coralitis
out.
right now, an inflammation of the coral.
At this stage, I'm going to go down there and eat coral, just so that I can.
There's a Waltheria sponge on the right, and there's a vase sponge. Scott had noted that there could be a regadrella, and that's very possibly what we just saw. And that'll be coming up for those of you who are on a little bit of a delay.